1 minute, because the estimates are just a little bit different in the way they're sent out to people. So on the PERF side, again, when you look at your estimate, depending on what option you pick, if I took option 20, which pays me the highest amount, if I saw a reduction of 10%, that number is going to be reduced by about $10, or I'm sorry, in this case, $6.60 a month. And then on the annuity piece, it's the difference between these two numbers, the second column and the first column. In this illustration, it's about $274. So again, if I go out after that effective date, that number's probably going to go to 130 some or whatever. So what I do if I were you, everybody in here that's planning on retiring or thinking about it because of these changes, number one, plan on coming to a workshop. I go in more detail in regards to these changes or things that people need to think about before they do retire. And number two, make sure that you know exactly what they're planning on doing before you make that decision to retire, because you have to be informed in regards to making that decision. Notwithstanding the changes associated with here, from a financial planning standpoint, one of the things I talk about is that for everybody in here, you know, the reductions in the payments that might be coming down the road are one thing to consider, but probably the most important thing for everybody to consider in here before you make the decision to retire has to do whether or not you're covered in regards to health insurance. So I tell individuals, if you're not turning age 65 and going on Medicare, or you're not being picked up on some type of spousal plan, you know, your spouse is still working, picked up on a family plan, or your employer is not bridging the gap, doing some type of program to get you from your current age up to age 65 to go on Medicare, I don't think you can retire anyway, because the costs associated with health care for folks out here today is pretty substantial. I gave a presentation about a year ago down in Dearborn County, and the young lady that ran the HR department down there told me their COBRA plan, which is a government plan that allows you to pick up health care for up to 2 years under your nickel, for a small family is about $1,200 to $1,300 a month. If you're a single individual, mid-50s, my age, no pre-existing conditions, it's probably $700 to $800 a month. So if you're making the decision to retire because of these changes, you better have health care covered before you go out, because, again, the numbers will probably shock you in regards to the costs. But if you've got it covered, then maybe you've got a plan already in place and you can make that decision to retire. So that's essentially the changes, folks. I don't have any additional information in regards to where I think things are going to go, but I'm open to answer any questions, any thoughts that anybody has here in regards to these changes. Yes, ma'am. Yep. It's a good question. You know, originally when they made these announcements about the changes, they announced that they were going to put new calculators up on the system so you could compare the before and the after. Well, essentially, they have not made the decision yet on what they're going to do. So that means that they have not gone out in an RFP process in regards to who the new company might be. That means they don't know what the rates would be. I mean, there's a lot of issues that are here. I was hoping that for folks that were planning on retiring, those calculators would be up on the system, hopefully by the end of January. But I would think now that it might be the end of March or first quarter. But that still gives you 5 to 6 months, right, to essentially make a decision to leave service before that effective August 31 date. But I don't know the complete answer, ma'am. Yes?
So if they outsource the annuity, are they then effectively relieving themselves of the liability?
Well, essentially, that's one of the things they've said. They don't want to be in that business anymore, because they sent out an email or a news item that says that if they stay on the same course, they'll probably lose close to $400 million. 383, I think, was the number that they said. If they stay on the current course, they've already probably cost the plan $181 or $183 million So, I mean, again, they don't want to be in that business anymore from my indication. Yep. Yes, ma'am.
The vote on October 25th, wasn't that in fact after the Pension Management Oversight Committee said we don't really think we want this outsourced?
Yep. The week before, PMOC approached the board and asked them to essentially reconsider that outsourcing of the annuitization piece. And that's the reason why they've come back and said, we're in the process of gathering some additional information, and there it stands today. That's correct.
So it's possible it won't be outsourced.
There's always a possibility to anything. I can't tell you what percentage it would be, whether or not they would outsource it or not outsource it, or
To me, if it were not outsourced, it would be with in-person managed, that means lower interest.
I would think so, because again, if historically you've paid more than what the market has to bear, I mean, if people are earning 9 to 9.5% in regards to that annuitization piece, and the market's bearing 3 or 4 or 5, essentially those rates have got to come down. Even if they do keep it in-house, I would think that there will be some adjustment. I have no idea, and I don't want to go down that path because I don't sit on the board and I don't have any input. Yes, sir.
If I understand this right, then when I was looking at this originally, I thought it was mostly based on the ASA account. But actually, you're saying that as we've calculated this pension over the years of being, for instance, a straight-out pension, let's say that was the average of your 5 highest years times 1.1% times the number of years of service, that amount that has existed after this date will be 1% less.
Yeah, I don't know how to. Are you a math teacher? Sorry.
Well,
No,
you
yeah,
better know the math to do this.
yeah. I'm not being
I
trained.
mean, I heard you say that the pension part is going to be 1% less.
Correct. The payment amount associated with the pension amount payment. So again,
When you say the payment amount, you're saying
if
the way that I had understood it was that the straight-out pension part was really, if you just the pension, forget the annuity account, that part was remaining the same.
that's incorrect. They announced that there was 2 changes coming. One on the pension side in regards to the payments, and number 2, the annuitization side.
So the old formula is not good after that date.
That's the reason why they've mentioned that they're going to put new calculators up on the system to be able to show you the illustration of what the payments would be both on the pension and the annuity before that effective date, and then what the pension and annuity payments would be after that effective date. That's correct.
I had actually, when I read it, and the way it read on the system, I always just assumed that it was if you put the ASA into the pension, and then I could see it would affect the pension. But if, let's say you took the pension straight, and you took the ASA as let's say you took it out, put it in your own IRA.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's not the interpretation that I had. I'm probably wrong, but I'm just saying.
Well, again, if you take the annuity savings account out, withdraw it and pay the taxes on it, or roll it over to your broker, financial plan, IRA, or whatever, then the annuitization piece is off the board because you're not even considering that. So the only thing then you're considering is that reduction in that pension payment of essentially 1%. So again, if you're going to draw $1,600 a month as a teacher in regards to the pension, $16. I mean, it's not, to me, a substantial number, but it is a number. And there will be people retiring based upon that change.
Well, and the other thing that I saw was that basically if you're going to lose 1% in approximately 1 year from now, then the idea that you may consider to work an extra year, 1 more year, you'll actually be back in the same place you would be as if you retired the year before.
Plus more probably, because for most teachers, if you're making between $60,000 to $65,000 a year, you're probably going to draw about $62 a month for every year of additional service. On the PERF side, if you're making $35,000 to $40,000, it's probably about $32 a month for every additional year of service. So yeah, you can make it up by that additional year. Yeah. Questions? Hi. Yep.
For me, that I'm fully vested.
Yep.
But I'm not old enough yet to have to retire. Stay where it's at?
No, I mean, apologize. Your balance in regards to your annuity savings account and the how you've got it invested, that's still your money. You'll still manage it. You'll still have it available to you when you finally do retire. One of the unfortunate things on the annuity savings account for everybody in here is that essentially the only way that you can get to that money, even though you're 100% vested, is you either have to leave service or retire, as opposed to a 401k or some other type of contributory retirement plan. In most cases, you can take that money out under a hardship or loan provisions or whatever. Yep.
Say I quit, me not retire, I can take that roll over in my.
That's correct. Yep, most definitely. Yeah. The pension, that's the piece that essentially is only available to you when you're eligible to draw the benefits. And on the PERF side and the TURF side, these are the main rules. You have to be at least age 65 and have 10 years of service, or age 60 and 15 years of service, or meet the rule of 85, which is a combination of at least 55 and 30 years of service. So intuitively, 56 and 29, 57 and 28, and the like. Now, individuals can retire early between the ages of 50 and 60 if you've got more than 15 years of service. But if you do retire early, PERF and TURF is going to haircut your pension benefit by about 5 to 6% for every year up to age 60. And in fact, if you go out 1 year early, it's about 11% reduction on the pension. 2 years early, 16%. So I usually tell folks, if you got the wherewithal to wait, you probably should. Because the deal is, folks, is to maximize, to get as much income as you can get. Because when you finally do retire, you're going to go on a fixed income, right? You want as much as you can get. So